Hey everybody, it's Allison again, stlprostretch.com. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Today I'm going to show you how I use resistance stretching to get into a yoga pose. I'm doing some yoga challenges right now, and I'm finding that resistance stretching is a great way to warm up for them. So basically what I do is I will try out the pose, and then I'll just mentally note, okay, what muscles are tight? What muscles would I need to stretch before I go deeper into this? And today's pose is a modified pigeon. So it's kind of like a mermaid pose, if you've ever done that. And usually they leave that pose to later in a yoga class, way later, like 45 minutes in, because it takes a while to warm up your body before you do the pose. It's not one of those poses you just want to just like, okay, let's drop right into pigeon. So anyway, I'm going to show you how I would go about warming up my body to do a pigeon or a mermaid. So let's come to the mat. Oh, first of all, if you're following along, don't do it if it hurts. If it hurts, stop doing it. And please work within your range of motion. So don't push past, maybe I'm doing something a little deeper than maybe your leg or your muscles are telling you to do. Just make sure you're working within your range of motion and not mine. And I would always say, move and resist. But once we get to the yoga pose, we probably won't be moving and resisting all that much, although you can. All right, so let's come to the mat, and I'll show you what the pose is. This is my pose of the day that I am supposed to do. And so it's like this with my front leg kind of I'm not going to say it's perpendicular because we're not going to do that today. And the back leg is like this. And then next, I'm supposed to grab my foot and tuck it into my body like that. And I can already tell by doing this, my quad is tight, so I'm going to need to stretch my quad. I'm probably going to need to stretch my hip flexor. I'm going to need to stretch both hip flexors. I'm going to need to stretch my glutes, my abductors, right? And what else? And maybe even my adductors a little bit, because as you rotate out, those adductors, medial hamstring needs to stretch on the front leg. So let's get started. Let's start with kneeling hip flexor stretch. I'm going to grab my blanket. I'm going to grab my blocks. If you don't have blocks, that's okay. You can just put your hands on the floor. So I'm going to kneel. And blocks are down here just in case I need them. I'm going to scissor my legs together, so pull my back leg forward and my front leg back. So once you get that contraction going, pull your belly in. That could already be a stretch for you. That's fine. We're going to move forward a little bit, keeping that lock, and back. Forward and back. And I am getting a stretch in the front of my hip. One thing you can imagine is the hip flexor is responsible for bringing the knee toward the chest or the leg forward. And there are a couple of different hip flexors, but I want you to imagine that kicking motion as you pull back. Imagine this back leg kicking. Imagine you're going to kick it forward, like you had a soccer ball that you're going to kick. Keep that kicking sensation going as you come forward as well. And there's your stretch. The stretch is so effective because it's very rare that we work this muscle in this lengthening movement while it's under tension. So if you get tired here, it's because usually these muscles are a little weak, and they're short, and they're tight. How many reps? Generally, I do 8 to 10. You could do more. How much resistance? That's up to you. I wouldn't work it too hard at the beginning, so we're going to do the other side. Back leg is pulling forward, front leg is pulling back. Or you can imagine the front heel pulling toward you as you shift forward and back. Another thing we need to address is what happens if my hamstring cramps up. And that's where the blocks are going to come in handy. So if your hamstring starts cramping up, take those blocks. You're going to pull the heel toward you and then back it up. Stretch that hamstring out. And always note, hamstrings always win. So if your hamstring starts cramping up, you're going to have to address it first before you do this hip flexor stretch, for sure. If your hamstrings aren't tight, why then? And you might want to stretch your hamstrings out because it's going to make it easier for them to fold up into that back leg for pigeon. Also, with your hamstring stretched out, oh heck, we might as well just do the hamstring stretch because I'm thinking about it. Once we get into the quad stretch, you're really going to need the hamstring open up. It will tend to cramp. So we'll just go ahead and do that hamstring. All right, grab your blocks or the floor or put a chair in front of you. That's fine too. So pull this heel toward you. Keep pulling it toward you and back it up. I will say, the first time I do this, it doesn't really feel that great. But after I get down to about 5, the muscle starts opening up a little bit and I feel a little bit better. Not all these stretches are going to feel great, but eventually, as you practice them, they will. It's just kind of like yoga, where they say the poses that you don't like, that just means you need to do them more. Same thing. See, now my leg's starting to get straight, but it was really not even close to it before. And then switch sides. So pull the heel toward you, and then back it up. This way, I don't really have a specific goal in mind. I'm not trying to reach my toe. I'm just feeling the muscle, and it's going to tell me when it's at its end range, and that's pretty much it. Then we pull out of it. And that might be here for you, and that's okay. Just keep working on it. You will get better. I'm going to guess that my pigeon's already going to be better by now. Next, I'm going to do standing figure 4. And I like to do the standing version because it's a little more dynamic, a little more active, and I can get a little more muscle force behind it. My head's going to get cut off here in a minute, but I'll try to keep it as low as I can. So I'm going to cross my ankle over the standing leg. I'm going to pick one leg, so it's my right leg, and I've got my left ankle crossed over it. I'm going to push my ankle into my thigh, stick my butt out behind me, and sit down, and then push the ankle into the thigh to rise back up. Again, I like to usually do 8 to 12 reps. You can do as many as you want. You could do 20. Then it becomes more like strength training, And yeah, if you use enough resistance, you can get sore from this. Should be a good sore, not a bad sore, hopefully. And I definitely needed to stretch out my abductors. This is your abductor stretch, your hips. You're getting a little bit into the TFL. If you're jamming up here, you might need to go back to the hip flexor stretch. We also have a groin stretch, but I'm not going to get into that really today. I might. I'm quiet for 2 seconds. And then the opposite side. So now I'm crossing over my right ankle over my left thigh. I'm going to press the ankle into the thigh and push my hips back. So I'm sticking my butt out behind me, and then I'm going to push the ankle into the thigh to come back up again. So I'm moving in and out of this stretch. I am hanging onto the wall, but you don't have to. You could use this time to practice your balance. And I'm getting a lot of TFL, which is the side of the hip. But you might be feeling it all glutes. A lot of quiet today. Stretching. We are stretching hard, aren't we? And then we're going to go into the quad stretch. So I like to do my quad stretch against my intense quad stretch against a chair or a wall. So I've got a chair set up here, but you could just as easily use the wall. I'll demonstrate both. I'll do one on one leg and then the other on the other. So for this one, I set my blocks in front. I'm kneeling. I'm going to bring my left leg out to the side, and I'm going to put a hand down on the block and flip my foot up so that my foot is on the chair. And then I'm going to rise. I'm going to push my foot into the chair to come forward. That's your strength. Keep pushing into the chair and move back. For all of these stretches, I did not mention this, and I really don't mention it enough. You could do all strength first. So you could push your foot into the chair, strength, back it up, strength, back it up, just like a leg extension. Or I like to just save some time and not do that first and push, keep pushing, and then back it up. So again, if your hamstring cramps up, go back to the hamstring stretch because the hamstring always wins. So this is what we call the aerobic version of resistance stretching, where you're pushing and pulling. Whereas just doing the strength part, we just consider strength. So that would be a warm-up. If you need to warm up for some of these stretches, it really can be very helpful. And then if you want to try the stretch with the foot up the wall, it'll look like this. I'm putting my blanket about 4 inches, 6 inches away from the wall. The farther away your knee is from the wall, the easier this is going to be. So if you're really tight, move the blanket away farther from or the pillow or whatever you've got. And then I'm going to go on hands and knees. I'm going to back my left leg up so my foot is at the wall. Toes could be pointed or tucked under, whichever you prefer. And then the other leg, it comes through. I'm going to push into the wall for strength. Again, if you want to just do strength, you could push, back it up, push, back it up, push, back it up. And then we're going to go into the stretch. So push into the wall and then back it up while you're pushing. Do the opposite of sticking your butt out because your bottom is going to want to stick out behind you. The more you pull it under, pull the belly in, tailbone under, the better the stretch is going to be for this one. In fact, if you always let your butt stick out for this stretch, you're really not going to get the rectus femoris stretched all the way, which is one of your quad muscles. It is the hip flexor of your quad muscles. If you want to take this farther, you can lift your arms. You can also take your arm, the leg that you're stretching, you can take that arm over to the side and do a side bend. It's going to get into some of the abdominal muscles, the QL, deeper into that psoas. I'm feeling the need to do it on this leg because I'm tight. And then we're going to try our pigeon again. I haven't even gotten to the inner thigh yet. So you might need to do that, and I'll show you how in a minute. But we're going to go back to the pigeon. So I'm going to bring this knee forward, and I'm already a lot deeper. I feel like I am. I feel like my TFL right on the side of my hip on this side still needs to be stretched out a little bit, and maybe my medial hamstring. So we'll get into that in a minute. But this leg, much easier to get it here. So this is my pose today. I'm supposed to kind of wrap this arm around and hang on to it. There is something else you can do while you're in your pigeon if you're not all the way down. Pull your knees together, pulse, so you're going to pull together, just create that little bit of movement, and then slowly relax. Lift and slowly relax. I swear you do this a few times and you're going to get a lot deeper into your pigeon. Okay. Medial hamstring. You can do this one supine, which means on your back, or you can do it upright. I'm going to do it supine today because it's my favorite way. I'm on my back. If you need something for under your head, use it. I'm going to take my foot out to the side. I'm going to make the OK sign with my hand, and I'm going to hook my heel. I'm going to kick my heel toward my groin like that. My arm's going to move the opposite direction to slow the movement down. That's your strength. So I'm going out with my arm. I'm pulling toward my groin with my heel. That's your strength. If you need to go through that a few times, do it. Otherwise, we're going to go right into the stretch. So heel kicks toward the groin, and now the arm's going to win and pull it open. We don't want to push the knee away. That's not what we're doing right now. Eventually, you may get to a straight leg position, but make sure that you're just moving into the in and out of that range of motion that you can still contract in, if that makes any sense. So we're going to do this leg this way. I'm sweating. Yes, this type of stretching does take a little bit more effort and a little sweat. And then the other leg, I'm going to do the other way. I'll show you. It's just like the hamstring stretch. I'm on my knee, and I've got my foot. I'm going to put my foot out to the side this time. So my foot's going to go out to the side. I'm going to pull my heel toward me. That's the strength. And then I'm going to back it up. And I could take my hands down as I do this. Try to think about this inner thigh kind of toward the back as you stretch. And you'll have to decide which one is more effective for you. Usually as I go into this stretch, I'm going to externally rotate my leg a little bit, but you don't have to. So 2 ways to stretch that medial hamstring. And then we're going to work into TFL one more time. Those of you who are yogis and you have trouble getting into lotus, you might want to try this. You never want to force your lotus because it can be really rough on your knees if you get into it and you're not patient with it. I tried for years to do this and to do double pigeon just by sitting here, and it never happened for me. I was always the one up here. So this is a different way of doing it. I'm going to sit on the floor. My hands are behind me. I'm kind of leaning back a little bit. I'm going to put my leg down perpendicular. I'm going to cross my ankle over, and I'm going to push the knee down toward the foot. I'm just going to repeat, repeat, repeat. Hey, you may not get very far. You may only go like this is as far as you can move. That's okay. That's kind of where I started. And as I worked through it, one day I was just like, oh my gosh, I've been working for like 8 years to be able to do this pose, and now I've got it. And with the resistance stretching, it happened pretty quickly. So, and then the other side. And we're looking to get into this side pocket muscle. You should feel it. If you dorsiflex your foot, so pull your toes back toward your shin, you're going to get a little bit deeper stretch because the ankle can't sickle like that. That's where you lose some of the stretch. So this one takes a lot of repetition in my experience. It's a pretty easy one too. So for some of you just sitting here, like this is going to be a stretch. You're just moving in and out like that. That's okay. It's okay. Another way to do it is just start from here and then rotate the knee out. That's going to give you a TFL stretch right there. So for those of you that are really, really struggling with this stretch, try this. See? And then go back and try your pigeon. I'm going to do the other side this time. This is not my forte side. But I feel pretty open. I feel pretty good. I think the muscles that I needed to stretch are stretched out. And hey, I didn't have to go through 45 minutes of a yoga class to get here. It didn't take me much time. So some of you yogis may consider it cheating that I'm doing it this way, but in my opinion, it's a smarter, not harder way to do it. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or if you have any other poses that you'd like me to kind of go through step by step and see what muscles. Anyway, that's it for today. Have fun and a happy stretching. Bye-bye.